it wouldn't be quite so lopsided.
Well, keep in mind too, Democrats for some time have realized that they cannot win elections unless they can put some English on the ball, so to speak. This initially started with some of the reactions to the 2000 election, and some of the approaches that they were trying to take. And in fact, their argument after that, amongst other things, was we cannot have mail ballots. That used to be their argument. But along the way, they figured out, and it's also why they started doing this micro-targeting stuff. Like I ran in 2006 the marriage amendment in Colorado, and we passed it big. I was fighting against that. You remember that book, The Blueprint, that was about the change in Colorado? The guys who orchestrated the blueprint, one of whom I'm friendly with, by the way, we respect one another because I kicked his butt. But the point is that paradigm of micro-targeting people, doing great data work, expanding it out, the iteration of Act Blue, and so they started to be really good at that. But again, that was not always taking them over the edge, and so they've started to do the radical changes in the way we do voting. So mail voting started. They figured out, because of this micro-targeting, that they could do mail voting. Oregon started mail voting, I think, in 2004, maybe it was. In Colorado, when I ran that, we didn't have mail voting. We had expanded absentee ballots and early voting. But then they went to mail voting, and they figured out this mail voting thing is really the key because they know how to work it well, and they knew Republicans.
Colorado has all mail voting, right?
It does,
So
yes.
Oregon, I think,
It does now,
and
yeah.
Washington. Yeah, that's not good. I remember that in 2020 we saw Nancy Pelosi being like, we have to all mail our ballots, and I was like, that's not good.
But the point I'm making is that they have to twist the game in some way. They have to get English on the ball. They have to go outside addressing the American people. And
that's the way it's going to be from now on.
Years. And right now, I don't think it's going to help again. We saw last November some evidence of it, and I think
it's going to fuck around and find out.
Starting to break.
That's all that's going to happen.
That doesn't mean all the risks are gone, but the American people aren't responding. We've got to see what the next iteration is. Riots is part of that, to be candid. Or at least it's going to fail, but I think that they think it is.
Interesting.
Who are the people that are rioting? Or is it the same contingent from 2020 and France and climate and everything? Is it those in Gaza? Is it the same people?
Well, I mean, it's definitely the same, the same type of person. Even if it's not the exact same people, it's still the Antifa people. It's people that are coming out for Black Bloc. Exit, get into that kind of stuff. The Antifa people. So you got your anarcho-communists, your people that are politically disengaged and that are just there for the party because the whole rioting thing is very attractive to young adults, young men. They like to throw stuff. They like to get wild, so they'll go and they'll get, smoke some weed, get high, or they'll have some drinks and get into fights with the cops. That's fun for a lot of people. So it is a conglomeration of a bunch of different groups. But the people that the cops really need to pick up are
I'd say it's probably 5%.
But keep in mind, this is not the least organic. It's orchestrated and planned. They get some organic effect.
People are supplying them weapons.
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Mass.
Which is
why
Brian
Stelter right now is tweeting that in the real world LA, most Angelinos are having a normal day, and that it's just people seeing clicks and chaos about last weekend's clashes. This is the depravity of people, of the media, and this is what they do. Brian Stelter has always existed to try and cover up when the Democrats are in panic. They're declaring an emergency, enacting a curfew. The National Guard is being deployed. It's happening literally right now. We played videos. The role of this man, and what he's always done, is to cover it up. And he says, actually, earlier today, he was saying, I think it was today, that you're seeing videos from hours or days ago.
Ridiculous.
And it's like, and yes, people are concerned about it, and it's ongoing. It's remarkable that he's tweeted out at 7 o'clock that people are preying on fears about where last weekend's clashes will go. You mean today's literal right now clashes?
Yes, it's right now. This is, what, day 5? Are we on day 5?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it is pretty remarkable that he tries to frame it like that, but that has been the the standard operating procedure of the media for the past 6 or more, maybe 10 years. They'll take something that is clearly and obvious to whoever's watching, and they will write a chyron about it, or the monologue that they're giving in front of this picture doesn't add up with the reality that's going on behind it. That's that's the meme.
It's one thing to be a little kid and you stole the cookie and you weren't supposed to eat it, and mom asks you why and you lie and say you didn't. That's one thing. What does it take for a person to really think about what am I going to lie about today to advance it?
Well, this is what happens when there's
Got
no
it.
discipline.
Yeah, that's right.
These people are evil.
And when there's no consequences.
Yeah.
For, just going right back to the case of the sedition thing. I mean, if there are no consequences anywhere, that creates a moral hazard. That's what a moral hazard is when you talk about it from an insurance perspective.
Let's talk about consequences. We have this story from the Seattle Times. U.S. Rep. LaMonica McIver indicted on federal charges from skirmish at New Jersey Immigration Center. They say that she was indicted Tuesday on federal charges alleging she impeded and interfered with immigration officer outside of New Jersey Detention Center. That's insane, by the way. She's on video, closed fist, punching the guy.
And she's wearing red. You can see her amid a sea of people in earth tones.
Yup, she's a Democrat she's been charged in a complaint by HABA last month with 2 assault charges. She's now additionally been indicted on further charges. So look, this Trump admin not playing around. I want to see more of this stuff, and I think what we are all eager to see, going beyond just obviously this woman assaulted an officer, we want to see the arrests of the corruption at the federal level. When the J6 committee was accused of tampering with witnesses, I want to see charges.
I don't know why they let off Mayor Ross Baraka in Newark, who was also involved in this whole thing. And
I do.
things. Why did they let him off?
Because people misunderstood the video when it was first released. They
give
thought
here.
the scuffle happened first and then
What
the
do we got?
arrest. The scuffle followed the arrest. So they went into the ICE facility. They didn't break in, they didn't fight their way in. And they were told he has to leave, and he kept refusing. And they said, I will trespass if
So
you
where am I
don't.
going? Red Island?
And then the DHS video jump
Red
cuts,
Island.
but they leave. DHS then, I believe it was ICE, whoever was there, then goes out of the facility to arrest him, triggering the scuffle. That's when Rep. McIver punches the ICE agent. So they probably said, we can't get this guy on trespassing. He left when we told him to leave.
That
and
makes sense.
then they started to arrest him, and then everyone starts fighting.
You
Well,
know,
she
his
committed the more
dad
serious
was
crime.
Yeah, right.
Give me that.
She punched a friend.
Ross Baraka's dad was Amiri Baraka, who was originally the black nationalist poet Leroy Jones, who wrote Dutchman about the white woman on the subway who, murders this black guy. But Ross Baraka grew up in a very black nationalist, socialist type of home in Newark, New Jersey. And he was actually on Lauryn Hill's Miseducation of Lauryn Hill in 1998.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
What did he do?
I don't know. He was featured on one of the tracks.
Really?
Yeah, but his mom founded a record company, was co-founder of Sugar Hill Records.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's basically like black commie royalty.
Now I'm looking up the record to see
Yeah.
what he.
Gavin Newsom's going to be giving an address in 20 minutes for those that are watching live.
Don't want to miss
Everybody
that.
else tomorrow will probably already know. But I imagine he's going to blame Donald Trump for all the rioting and all the violence. Maxine Waters has already been blaming Trump. Trump called the National Guard because of the violence. There's a video of leftists mocking ICE agents who are trapped in a federal facility and can't get out because they're throwing things at them. And then the Democrats come out and say it never happened. Trump is actually the one who started all the violence.
Yeah, they love to blame Trump for
Because it works,
their
'cause they're a
own
cult.
policies, for their
That's
own
why I'm-
policies
Trump's a
that
piece of
failed the
shit,
United
bro.
States.
Stop debating.
Fuck
I don't
Trump.
care. Just arrest people.
Fuck Trump.
ICE, go out, make the arrest you got to make, the arrest, deport the people you got to deport, and Democrats can scream into the wind all they want.
Once they have, once the Marines are actually on site, they can start doing that.
There's going to be chaos in the streets in LA tonight.
Some more training for probably riot gear training, because generally the Marines have not been doing riot stuff for the past 20 years or so.
Indeed.
Well,
we have the announcement from the mayor here that just went up a few minutes ago. Let's play it.
I wanted to let the city know that I have declared a local emergency and issued a curfew for downtown Los Angeles to stop the vandalism, to stop the looting. Many businesses have now been affected by or vandalized. Last night, there were 23 businesses that were looted.
Wow.
And I think that if you drive through downtown LA,
But she said
the
everything
graffiti
was
is
fine.
everywhere and has caused
Oh,
significant
no. Oh,
damages
no.
to businesses and a number
Maxine.
of properties. So my message to you
You done
is,
fucked
if
up.
you do not live or work in
You
downtown
done fucked up,
LA,
Maxine. You said
avoid the
everything
area.
was fine. What
Law
happened here?
enforcement will arrest individuals who break the
That's why you never
curfew,
go full
and you will
blown
be
retard.
prosecuted. Hundreds of
These
officers
people are
from
fucking
police and sheriff
retarded. So
departments
fucking
from across the
retarded.
region and state are
This
working
bitch told
alongside
everybody
LAPD
that
through a
everything
unified
is
command
fine.
structure.
These things
Curfew
are not
will be
happening.
tonight from 8
Just
p.m.
look.
until 6
Everything is
a.m.
fine.
You know,
Like, I genuinely,
thank you, Donald Trump.
people that are so
Two,
dumb
thank you,
that
I
think this shit's real.
Because at the end of the day, in the background, you know, there's
Fuck
discussions.
Christ.
He's like, listen. I know I have to answer to you, but stop the stupidity. And I mean,
Yeah, I assume that those conversations are going on, but I think that one of the more important things that I'm getting from this is one more like egg on the face of the Democrats. They have to come out and do this after they've been swearing up and down for the past 5 days. No, everything's fine. It was Donald Trump. Blah blah blah. Everything was fine. It's not a problem. There is no violence. Maxine Waters just earlier today.
Yeah,
There was
fine.
no violence anywhere, et
None.
cetera, et cetera. And now you see the Democrat, mayor coming out saying, okay, we have to.
23
That's a lot.
businesses looted.
Oh, I didn't know that.
by the way,
That's what
I
she
think
said.
they were mostly minority-owned businesses too, if I remember correctly.
Downtown LA is a slum already.
I
What a
have-
horrible city. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
that's it.
I will rag on LA all day. People need to understand this. LA is actually relatively small. LA County is usually what people refer to, but everyone always wants to move to the surrounding areas outside of LA. It's one big massive metro. Downtown LA is just, it's always really it was crazy to me when I lived in LA because most cities have a vibrant downtown, but people who live in LA, quote unquote, avoid downtown. They don't want to go anywhere near it. It's not where the nightlife is. It's not the center of the town. It's actually rather dirty and run down.
Don't
Really?
go on the downtown interstates, go on the outside interstates and get out of there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, I like hanging out in Lakeview, but that's the only area that I'm going to go to. I mean, even Hollywood's kind of a mess.
Hollywood is
Hollywood's
terrible.
gross.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's very gross.
I mean,
It's fun.
I got to tell you, L.A., Hollywood, they market this dream, and they want people to believe, like in American Idol, you're going to Hollywood.
Right.
So you show up in Hollywood, you'll be like, I didn't want to come here.
What happened?
Is that the
Why
way
am
it's
I
always been?
here? Yeah.
The way
Has
it's always
Hollywood always been like that? It's always been gross?
been. Well, I mean, at least as long as I've known.
70s and 80s, it was pretty. I mean,
Yeah,
the-
dingy.
I haven't spent a ton of time in LA.
yeah, it's always been kind of.
Hollywood
that.
is it's
That was kind of what was attractive about it to like the kind of the rock kind of genre.
That makes a lot of
Well,
sense.
by the way,
Let me just put it this way: there's many motels that offer a 40-minute nap.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. How
Sometime-
convenient just for
sometimes-
the afternoon.
Just want to take a nap.
Yeah,
that was
why
the
not?
joke at the beginning and the
Afternoon.
end of the Julie Roberts movie, whatever, when she was the prostitute.
Pretty Woman.
Huh?
Nothing.
Yeah, Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. Yeah, so sorry. And that was the Hollywood. Everyone comes and gets it,
Yeah.
And that was the joke, right? I mean, yeah, that's even back in the 80s, so no doubt about it. It was crap.
Oh yeah. And Roseanne was telling us, everyone was doing coke.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Well, that's part of why it was crap is because everybody's high
And
off
you know-
the balls.
Everybody has this romanticized view of Los Angeles, and they want to go there, and it's pretty awful.
The weather's really nice though.
Well, that's what.
I
That's
disagree.
They pay
San Diego has
taxes,
really nice weather.
Right?
San Diego does have nice weather.
San Diego's the bomb.
LA has smog, and depending on how far inland you go, it's a lot of smog and fog
Yeah.
Laguna
You
Beach,
need
Dana
a
Point.
lot of moisturizer.
in
Yes,
LA.
It's dry.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're in Santa Monica, you're all right.
Yes, I like Santa Monica.
Yep, as most people do.
It's nice there.
Very
It's
nice.
rich. It's bougie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yup.
The reason why people like it is because it's nice, rich, and
And the Palisades.
Yeah.
well, the,
Well, that used to
Palisades
be
used
nice,
to be
right?
The real estate market has been on fire down there. Shout out
My
to Doug
goodness.
Polk on Kill Tony. I stole that joke from him. His Kill Tony routine was actually really good. I was impressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, the fact that they're having the curfew, I think that's good. It's good for Republicans. It's good for conservatives. It's good for LA because there might be fewer looting, fewer lootings and such. So it's good to see them move. I'm actually surprised that they're moving this fast. I would have thought it would have taken a few more days for them to feel the pinch, but
I've loved the memes about the rooftop Koreans.
oh, do you follow the original Rooftop Korean?
No.
He's actually on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I
Oh,
forget.
wow.
Because I remember that in, like, what was it, 92?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that whole standoff
The
situation.
cops,
name is-
Yeah.
cops, the National Guard were like, we don't care about you, and then left. And so they were like, lock and load.
Yep.
His name is Tony Moon. It's his ad is @RoofKorean7,
Oh.
and his
He's an actual guy.
Yeah, his bio
Should
is
hit him up for an interview.
His
Yeah.
bio is American Patriot, follower of Jesus, 1992 OG Roof Korean, 2021
Oh, he looks
anti-vaxxer,
like a
Antifa
badass.
hunter, 2021 J6 DC tourist.
I love that
I'm
profile.
on the
Is that real?
forest. Yeah, that
I'm like, did he actually do those things?
he is alleged to be. This
He
is
joined.
I know, but I'm
November
saying, did he actually go to
2020, I should
J6?
say.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to interview that man.
Yeah, yeah, we should totally.
Just a look
Tweet
at
at me,
his
Let's,
face.
uh,
tweet at me, Tony.
Let's jump to this story. We have this from UPA.com. Body found. 100 plus arrested amid violent LA protests of ICE raids. Yeah, it's kind of funny. This is on the back half of the show.
Okay,
but
Monaco Station done.
near where all the businesses have been looted, and they're not revealing much information right now. They're saying local law enforcement investigating the death of a man whose body was found on a downtown LA sidewalk early Tuesday, where protests and looting have occurred. The unidentified man was dead. The cause of death is being investigated. I'm going to go ahead and say it is related to the riots. Well, let's just entertain this. Maybe it's not directly, but I'd imagine if it was something like an overdose, the likelihood of survival was substantially higher if police weren't tied up with riots. So this is what happens when police are drawn away and they can't do their jobs. They're not patrolling. You get dead bodies, and the LA riots now have one confirmed death. We don't know. I'm not saying he died because of rioting, but he died in the where they were rioting.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to him.
Maybe the Democrats would argue he simply was walking down the street before suffering from a congenital heart defect, and then just collapsing. It's a sad, tragic story.
Yeah,
Sadly.
that's probably what they'll say.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened.
Or he could have been looting a business and got into a fight, or got hit by a brick.
Yeah, well, maybe he got hit by a rubber bullet, and now everyone will get to sue. Because my favorite thing is how the police are not supposed to use lethal measures, which, okay. So then they use the non-lethal measures, which
No, they don't.
sometimes they do.
They're called less lethal.
Less lethal, right. But then people sue when they get hit with it, and it's like you were literally rioting. And they shot you with a rubber bullet, and you have a big bruise on your leg.
Well, that Australian lady, the Australian reporter, wasn't rioting. That's the issue.
Right.
There's also this video, and I hate to
But
defend.
rioters do sue for this stuff.
Sure.
in Portland.
And I hate to defend this guy because he's actually appears to be a communist, but he's antagonizing a cop and yelling at him, saying, "What's your name and what's your badge number?" That's not illegal. And then the guy says, "I'm going to pop you," and he goes, "For what? For standing here asking you a question?" And then the cop shoots him with the 40 millimeter.
Oh yeah, that's not.
And then the guy says, "Yo," what? And he yells at the supervisor, like, "What's that guy's name? He just shot me." They ignore him, and then the guy shoots him again. And people are on X laughing, and I'll be like, "This is how you lose.
Yeah.
This is how you lose.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be annoying. Cops can't just pop people with 40 millimeter foam rounds because a guy's being annoying."
Yeah, that is a little much. I can see how you're tempted, but it's a little much. You gotta rein that in.
Yeah, I mean, like, I heard that he got shot in the groin point blank, and I said I certainly enjoy videos where people, get a football in the groin.
Sure.
But I understand, you can't defend that. The cop shouldn't have done that. First of all, he's wasting ammo. It should be, well,
That's
yeah,
a
he's
big
shooting
problem.
a guy in the groin.
Yeah.
I mean, because he got emotional. Nah.
Yeah.
You see somebody about to throw a brick, and this is what these things are for, not some guy yelling at you.
100% true.
But also, I can see how it'd be tempting.
I'm
By the way-
not saying nothing.
By the way, I was trying to find it here. I found it somewhere, but somebody calculated that National Guard troops are called out since about the 60s on an average about every 5 to 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know the Ferguson riots. It's funny when they're like, Donald Trump is sending the military against the people. Well, Obama did it.
Yeah.
In Ferguson, he's saying National Guard. It's not literally Obama, but the governor.
The last LA riots in '92.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rodney King.
George.
Well, that was wasn't the Army? Was it only National Guard?
I think it was. Well, no, they had Marines there as well too.
Because that was something. that
And the Marines
That was
were a little
crazy.
funky in how
I
they
don't
acted. But
I don't think we've seen riots that bad. I mean, like the Summer of Love riots nationwide, so they escalate in a different way. But the LA riots, they were murdering people. Like, I guess the BLM riots were worse. Yeah, I guess actually it's fair to say the BLM riots were worse, and Trump did nothing, and I'm really upset. I'm pissed off about it.
You think the BLM riots were worse?
36 deaths nationwide.
Yeah, it was.
hundreds
the
of
fire-
millions
the
of dollars in
Millions.
damages.
Billions.
Yeah, it was
Fire
brilliant.
bombing of federal buildings for 3 months in the Pacific Northwest, and Trump did nothing.
Well, he kept talking to the mayors and stuff, and the mayors were like, no, we have it under control. You don't need to call in the National Guard. He kept threatening to call in the National Guard without actually doing it.
And he should have.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he should have.
Instead,
Absolutely should have.
I'll
I
say
mean,
this
those
though.
two boys might not have been killed at the, the Capitol Hill occupied protest thing.
What? Jump on it backwards. He sends in the police to Lafayette, outside the White House, and clears out the riots, and he gets attacked for it. He lets the riots take place all across the country, and he could have done something about it. I think Trump should have stood down during the insurrection, the leftist insurrection, M29 in 2020. You had 1,000, 2,000 or so rioters, hundreds of federal law enforcement injured. They firebombed St. John's Church. Trump should have issued a statement saying, due to a serious concern about injury to peaceful protesters because of the riots, we will be withdrawing law enforcement and hope things de-escalate. And then what would the leftists have done? They'd have stormed the White House.
Yeah.
And you would have had an M29 White House, Trump in the emergency bunker. People would be ransacking it, and he'd say, "Oh, heavens me, the far left." And I've heard people say to me when I tell them this, they're like, "Yeah, but then the media would claim he failed and he's a bad leader." And then Trump need only say, "I was as surprised as you that the far left was willing to engage in insurrection because the media kept saying they were peaceful protests, and so we
protesters.
backed off, and they were wrong." That's what he should have done, because that's what Pelosi did on January 6th.
Yes, she did. She just lied.
And everyone wondered why police and National Guard and no one came out when they knew these people were going to be there, and it's because Pelosi, isn't it on camera she's saying, "I made this happen"?
Yes, and she also said on camera that this is something that they would regret, not having acted more swiftly to do anything.
And it was her call.
It was her call.
Yeah. By the way, Ramesh Ponnuru wrote, I think in the Wall Street Journal just recently, and he made this statement about all the problems with the Trump presidency. One of them was, and he doesn't have the advisors who restrain him anymore, even though it's ultimately Donald Trump's fault in his first administration. No, he does have the right advisors right now, because he is thinking much more clearly through these things and acting on them. I think many, like what you're talking about, Tim, I agree. And I think he should have allowed that to be shown for exactly what it was. You don't wait till January 6th to do that, by the way, when you're going out of office. And that's a serious issue here. Like, he's got the right people around. It's not perfect, have some criticisms, but this is really much more fantastic than these ninnies, these Mike Pence-style ninnies that were, and I say this, by the way, and I went to church with Mike and Karen for 5 years, and Mike introduced me to my first job, but, these kind of crazy ways of thinking about Washington, D.C., that are very Mike Pence style are absurd. And Donald Trump's not doing that this time. And I think we actually have a really real hope when we're talking about, no, go take some freaking action, that he might do it. And it will provide benefits, because at the base of everything in politics is not what do the polls say right now, or what's the trend at the moment of what I need to be doing. The American people, at least, like real action on the principle.
Yeah.
And to take on, again, as we were talking about, the seditious behavior, to take it on and be direct with it, even if you get a little bit of a plunge of response and you stay with it and get results. That's what people are looking for. They're not waiting for you to figure out what they are saying. There's someone that said, I can't remember what leader it was, but there was some famous person in the past that said, oh, there are my people. Let me see where they are going so I can lead them. Right? That is not what you do in politics. You go lead, and the people will be inspired, and they'd follow. That's actually one of the great things about Donald Trump, with all his faults. That's one of the great things that we have as an example, if people will take it once he's off the scene.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think that the Trump administration probably has more leeway than people think that he does, especially when you hear such such consternation about the fact that Donald Trump is doing anything at all. The government does things that are clearly 100% within the purview of the federal government. Enforce the existing laws passed by Congress, and if necessary, protect the federal agents that are enforcing those laws, right? Those are unquestionably things that the federal government has the authority to do, and people are making such a big deal about it. I think that it turns into a bit of a Chicken Little, which is something that the left has done well for the past 15 years. It turns into a Chicken Little saying the sky is falling because they're just enforcing the law, when really they might be able to actually bend the law a little bit and get away with it for the broader population. So, but I don't know how much Donald Trump has in him to actually do that, because no matter how much the left wants to paint him as such a terrible authoritarian that wants to do all these terrible things, I don't buy that for 1 second. And I think that his first administration was evidence of that. The fact that he was trying to keep from being the authoritarian president. He always wants to be the guy that gets along. He forgives people that he had, or he lets bygones be bygones of previous, disagreements or whatever. So
Newsom's supposed to speak in a few minutes. I guess we'll pull that up. They say it's going to be on X, I guess.
That's wild. And he's just putting it on X.
Good for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X, it says.
Well, all of it, yeah, I guess.
Governor Newsom's address democracy at a crossroads. He's running.
Oh, he is for sure.
Oh,
running.
yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. You know what he looks like, though, is
A wizard.
Dastardly Do-Right. You know that guy? But not, what's his name? Dirk Dastardly.
I always thought he looked
from
like the Joker.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Dirk Dastardly.
Yes, did you not know Dirk Dastardly?
I thought he was always
From
the
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
clean-cut Joker. The pointy, clean-cut looking Joker. Because Joker's had a couple different looks.
Yeah, he looks more like the Joker to me,
Does he?
or Two-Face.
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
That's who you think he looks like? Yeah.
No, that's not a good picture of him. Normally he's got like the teeth. It's the teeth, really.
I think he's Harvey Dent.
Ah.
Definitely running, though.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
And he has.
I
He
mean,
wants to be president. So
I got to be
bad.
honest. If he did fall halfway into a vat of chemicals or get splashed acid on his face while by a mobster, and then he became Two-Face, I might vote for him. I'd be like, well, because then the good half comes
Right.
out. You know what I mean?
Right. Interesting.
I was just contemplating the fact earlier today that, first of all, it's been 13 years since 2012 when Mitt Romney was the presidential candidate with the best hair ever.
Right.
And Gavin Newsom just may be able to go beyond that if he really works hard.
He does have pretty great hair.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's natural or not. But
It's very gelish.
All right, he's live.
Here he is.
All right.
The live player is up, so
no,
we'll.
it started, yeah.
I really don't want to hear what he has to say, but I think I kind of have to play it because it's breaking news with these massive riots going on across the country. So
I'm curious, to be honest with you.
what if it's just completely unrelated to anything, and he was just like, I went to In and Out.
Talking about the California. He's talking about the rail project.
I went to In and Out and had a. Oh, here we go. There's no sound. Is that his fault or our fault?
That's kind of hilarious.
I think it's theirs.
Yeah, this is his fault. Wait, what? Yeah, there's no sound.
It's them.
Yeah, it's no sound coming from him. Yeah.
It's got the
Pre
crack team
recorded.
on it.
No, this can't be right.
Yeah, it's totally.
You checked your computer?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
playing.
It's. That's.
It's not playing.
No, I mean, you're on X watching.
I'm on
Yes.
X watching his speech, and it's not playing.
There's no audio.
Oh my God! No way! Come on! This,
What a loser! Come on.
no! Hold on!
What do you
I
mean?
still have to believe we're doing something wrong.
Well, how come I can't hear it on my laptop? It's
I can't
not
hear it on
connected to
mine.
the system.
I'm telling you, I just checked it too.
That's hilarious.
Oh, he's not live anymore.
Oop.
Wait,
It is on mine.
it is on yours?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check my phone. That's funny.
There's no sound.
That's that's.
Yo, I got my phone pulled up. I turned the volume all the way up. There's nothing.
Yeah, same
Tune
thing with
in.
me.
Is it maybe
Live
just
now.
X? No way! This is the funniest thing ever.
What
Boomer.
a clown!
maybe that's the point. Maybe he had nothing to say, and he's just going peas and carrots and peas and carrots. Peas and carrots, peas and carrots, and then what's going to happen is after they wrap, he's going to be like, it was a great speech. I can't remember what I said. Is this for real? There's no
That's
sound.
hilarious.
I'm trying. I pulled up his Instagram and there's nothing here. Even on X, they're saying it.
You clown.
You got 19,000 people
Yeah,
looking at
people
this
are
plan.
responding to the. Yup, they shut it off.
You clown.
That is shocking.
I am so glad we pulled this up.
Pathetic, dude.
Are they going to fix it?
Pathetic, bro.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
That is amazing. That is just amazing.
That was the start of his presidential
That's
campaign,
it.
right?
That's
Perfect.
it. You know what? The only other start of a presidential campaign that was worse was when Ron DeSantis launched his campaign on X, and that was
Yo, they shut it
also
down.
terrible.
It's gone.
Yeah. What clowns? That's amazing.
Embarrassing.
You'd
Oh, and
think
you know he's pissed in the
that with
background right
all
now.
those resources, it's still pinned.
He might actually unhinge his jaw and then eat them like the lizard snake
Yeah.
person he is.
Yeah, he should just consume his entire staff.
That's
But somebody's
hilarious.
getting fired. Somebody's getting fired.
By the way,
for
there
that.
were 34,000 people that got into it by that
Yeah.
time. That
Yeah.
is hilarious.
That is
Yeah, all the responses on X say no audio, no audio,
that
like
is
to
just
his post.
stunning.
Come on, Gavin. What are you doing? Is he alive?
You joke.
How do I? Can we? Well, I guess it's archived on this show. I'm like, I want to save that for the historical record.
Gavin Newsom, he's a non-starter.
All you need to do is pull out the
Oh,
iPhone
man.
and open up your X app. It's very simple.
It was pre-recorded.
Amazing. There is no sound.
There are 42,000 people in there right now.
Right, there's people are
He
still
like-
trying
no,
to
no,
watch it.
That's not how Twitter works. 42,000 people have viewed the video.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is
People are now
people are
watching
still going
it.
in. It's still rolling up, and he totally missed his opportunity.
I still to this day the stupidest thing Elon did was change concurrent viewership on X into static views
Yeah.
because that burned all advertising. We can't sell against X anymore because nobody. It's playing by its own unique set of rules, and so it's just excluded now from all ad deals.
But you know he did it because when you see the report on the back end, it's all short views. So
Is it working now?
Oh, he's back.
Where?
What? You want me to mute it?
But where's that? Where is it?
Governor Gavin?
It's on Gavin Newsom. He's live again.
Yeah.
This is all we're seeing is
I'm getting the blue screen. So
blue screen.
Yeah.
Click it.
I have it right there.
Yeah, blue screen.
Well,
Yes.
what's weird is
Blue
it's
screen.
happening right now.
Yeah, I'm watching it on my laptop here.
It's at Gavin Newsom.
yeah, hard refresh, blue screen.
At CA Governor, I have CA Governor up.
CA governor.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, they
They
Here it
moved
is.
it over.
near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar thing
Is that what happened?
downtown.
I thought we.
In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken
Please.
In response, everyday Angelenos
happening.
came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear
It's
gas,
pre-recorded.
flashbang grenades.
I'm telling you, it's not
rubber
live. He
bullets,
says he's alive. It's pre-recorded.
federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason.
it's legal.
Needed
This
more, bro.
brazen abuse
Should
of
take
power
more.
by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation.
A judge told you it was
putting our
legal, so
people,
shut up.
our officers,
Also,
and
there was no
even
raid
our
at Home
National
Depot.
Guard
Yeah.
at risk.
He
That's when
apparently doesn't
the
know how
downward
flat this is
spiral
falling.
began. he doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news. If
That
you
was
incite
before.
violence, I
Yes,
want to be
that was
clear
before.
about this.
That
If you
was like
incite
the
violence
reason.
to
This is
destroy
what
our
evil looks
communities,
like. Yes.
you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown.
But it's still happening.
But
That's why there's a
That's
curfew
not
now.
what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines.
They're on
These
standby.
are the men and women
And they're doing
trained for
training.
foreign combat, not domestic.
That's why
law
they're being
enforcement.
trained. Actually, that's not
We
correct.
honor
They're
their
trained
service.
for
we honor
domestic
their
crowd control.
bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed
Democrats are
forces. Not in
evil.
LA, not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots. Kids afraid of attending their own graduation.
Well, maybe their
Trump
parents shouldn't have
is
dragged them into
pulling
the
a
country
military
illegally.
dragnet
This is
all across
it's
Los Angeles.
so
Well beyond
ridiculous.
his stated intent to just go after violent and
It's
serious
just, I'm
criminals.
going to blame Donald
His
Trump for all the
agents
things
are
that are
arresting
happening
dishwashers,
in California.
gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses.
Good.
That's
They're
just
illegal.
Hey,
weakness
that's fine. It
masquerading
doesn't matter
as
what their
strength.
like
what I
under the
voted
table,
Donald Trump's
for.
government
you know,
is
low wage
protecting
job
our
is.
No.
communities.
I
They're
did not vote for this.
traumatizing our
I
communities.
voted for 10
And that
times this
seems
as
to
a
be
demand
the
they pass a
entire
big, beautiful bill.
Way more.
California will keep fighting. We'll keep fighting on
Duly
behalf
corrected.
of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal
All verifiable.
challenge to
It's
Donald
all
Trump's
wait.
reckless deployment of
sorry.
American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los
And the
Angeles.
judge denied you.
If some of us could be snatched off
Oh,
the
he
streets
didn't mention
without
that part.
a warrant,
Doesn't mention the
Didn't
judge
mention
said.
that the judge
on
said
suspicion
no.
or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not
guilty?
stop there.
You mean?
Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long
January
as it
6th.
January
serves
6th.
him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th?
January 6th. There
Ask
we go.
Everybody,
everyone.
take a drink.
Yes.
Take time, reflect on
Favorite
this
day.
perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution,
Unreal.
perpetuating a unified
put a
assault
bingo card
on
together.
American
Yeah,
traditions.
we should have done.
This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable.
We get it,
accountable for
Gavin, you're running
corruption
for
and
office.
fraud. He's
what
declared a war on culture, on
Could you
history,
imagine 4
on
years of
science,
having
on
to deal with
knowledge
this?
itself.
It would be
Databases
so
quite
upsetting.
literally
Science.
are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment.
I don't think that's
And the
happening.
threat of defunding them.
I
at
think they
threat,
delegitimized
he's dictating
themselves.
what
Yeah.
universities
He's
themselves
actually
can
expanded
teach.
access.
Yes.
He's targeting
profoundly.
law
Well,
firms
Biden
and the
canceled
judicial
450
branches
press
that are the
passes
foundations of an orderly and civil
when he came
society.
in, and Trump
He's
reinstated
calling
them.
for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting
Oh,
elected.
goodness.
And we all know this Saturday.
He begs
These
to be
ordering
arrested.
our
The Trump goes,
American
okay, and goes,
heroes, the United States
He's
military,
calling for my
and
arrest.
forcing
He
them
did it
to put
twice.
on a
He was like, "Go
vulgar
ahead, arrest me.
display
Go ahead,
to
go
celebrate
ahead."
Like, come
his
on, I
birthday.
can take it.
I
Just
arrest
as
do it.
other failed
It's like
dictators
all
have
he
done
wants
in
is
the
like
past.
Stop, Gavin. I don't want to
all
arrest
he
Look,
wants
this
is to be
isn't
sitting
just
there in
about
handcuffs.
protests
It just sounds
here
thirsty.
in Los
Yes,
Angeles.
it does
all-
sound
it
When
sounds
really
Donald Trump
thirsty.
sought
thirsty.
blanket
Yeah.
authority to commandeer the National Guard,
No,
he
you
made
are.
that
We need to get a program where I can draw
This is
on
about
video
all
so
of us.
it's
Yes, is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next.
Democracy
is
democracy.
under
There we go.
That's what we've got
before
going on.
our
That's
eyes.
how we
This
got
moment
here.
How big
we
this
have
debate
We
fear
got here
has
with
arrived.
democracy. That's what we
He's
have.
taking a
That's what
wrecking
we're
ball.
doing.
A wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project.
Oh,
3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances.
You know what his problem
Congress
is for the speech?
nowhere to
He's
be
going.
found.
It's too heavy.
Speaker Johnson has
It is pretty
completely
heavy.
I got some
abdicated that
PR.
And it's still going.
Listen, Gavin.
The rule of law
Here's my
has
advice for you,
increasingly
marketing
been
wise. The
given
first
way
thing is
to
fix
the
your
rule
audio
of
before
dumb.
going live. The second
The founding
is it's
fathers,
called
they
less
lived
is
and
more.
Died to
Right.
see this kind of moment. It's time
You-
for all
How
of
is
us
he
to stand
still
up.
going? Is anyone
Justice
still
Brandeis,
listening? We're not.
He said it best. In a democracy, the most important
Justice
office, with all
Brandeis
due
said it
respect,
best. Like
Mr.
you're
President,
going into
is not
this
the presidency, and it's certainly not government.
technocratic
The
approach
most
to it.
important office is office of
10
citizen.
minutes done.
At this
5
moment,
minutes done.
at this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your
Wow.
First Amendment rights, please, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
I think it's time to occupy California. So here's what I would say. Just give some advice to Gavin Newsom in terms of public relations. When you hammer literally every point imaginable all at once, it becomes incomprehensible. And the important thing to remember is people won't remember what you said. They'll remember how you made them feel. So what Gavin Newsom needs to do, if he wanted to actually run for office successfully, is to address a single point of contention that has people worried. Which would here's what I would do. I would point to the military deployment as the point of contention, and say it is not the federal government's job to intervene in the state's handling of their local laws as it pertains to protests or violence. We do that. He could have then said, Donald Trump jumped the gun in the deployment of U.S. military into our streets, terrifying our neighbors. Whether it was right or not is not the point. It was done without consideration for the safety and the feeling and the states of the people of the state. Take one point and then say he shouldn't have done it. Make them feel anxiety and then be done. Instead, he goes on there and says Trump is Hitler, and I'm not literally.
J6.
Yeah, he's like throwing in J6 confused the whole thing, and he's trying to elicit a reaction. I think the reason why he went that route is because most people feel anxiety due to the lawlessness. So he has to invoke J6 to try and redirect the anxiety that people are feeling towards Trump and blame Trump for. It's not going to work.
And that was one day. He's got 5 now. That
He
was
should have,
one day.
Well, he needs to consider. Listen, when Cash and Dan were talking about Epstein, they made a massive mistake. It's a PR blunder. Okay, and I like those guys. Cash said to Rogan, "Look, there's no way in or out. We have all the video footage. You'll see it. So no one could have gotten in there." And then it's just like immediately, except the person who found the body.
Right.
What?
about
The paramedics? Come on, there are people there. That's a stupid response. Or Dan not addressing his past comments and sentiments on this. You got to be real with people. You got to say, listen, I had a show, and I often talked about my skepticism over the story of Epstein. But now that I got in there and saw the evidence, I got nothing to add. I mean, it looks like it's a suicide. Instead, they give you this answer that neglects the existing information that already is in our minds. They don't get past that hurdle. The hurdle for Governor Newsom right now is that people like that Trump deployed the military.
Yeah.
People like that Trump is enforcing immigration laws. He needs to address that and then redirect. He didn't do it because he's bad at what he does. Now, hey, look at me. I never won a governorship. But let's just say this right now. His audio wasn't working. Okay? Run for president and have that happen. But we do got to go to your chat. So, my friends, smash the like button. Share the show with everyone, literally everyone. Got a neighbor? You guys ever talk? Maybe he is leaning over the wooden fence, but you can only see his eyes. You chat to him periodically for advice. Tell him to watch Timcast IRL. Return the advice to him. We're going to have that uncensored call-in show at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. So don't miss it. But for now, we'll grab your chats. All right. Let's grab your Rumble rants, my friends. Shane H. Wilder, always the first, says, I'm going to start calling Tim Miss Cleo because he predicted the Summer of Love 2 Electric Boogaloo months in advance. Who is putting the Tim was right jar next to the Alex Jones was right jar? I'll take credit for a few things right now. I predicted all of the Democrat projects to find the liberal Joe Rogan. Before Trump won, when we were all talking about how we're doing so well and then Trump wins, I said, Democrats are going to dump millions of dollars. I literally even said 20 million. I said they can spend 25 million on Rachel Maddow. They can put 20 million into finding prominent figures and propping them up on social media. They're going to put their faces everywhere. And what did they do? Project Sam, $20 million to try and speak to American men. And I was sitting down with Sam Cedar. Hi, Sam. On this, because I know he watches every single episode. And we were talking about the potentials for civil war. And he said, it's not going to happen. That's silly. And I said, okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But let me ask you this. Do you think Trump will use the military to enforce immigration, deportations? And he said, yes. And I said, will Democrats just let him do it? And he's like, I don't know. Probably not. And I'm like, okay. So either you get Donald Trump using the military to enforce deportations,
from an
which
Apple
you claim
store,
is a red
you can
line,
track all those products.
or Democrats fight back when Trump does it,
Full-blown
and then you get a
idiots.
breakdown between the federal government and the states. Hey, look where we are. Donald Trump has called in Marines and National Guard. He's taken the authority of the National Guard away from Gavin Newsom to assist and protect federal law enforcement as they enact immigration raids, as everybody thought he would. The question now is, will Democrats let it happen, or will they start obstructing? If they begin obstructing, you get into insurrection territory. If Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, you are getting into civil strife escalating into civil war. You will end up with the issue right now, and we are dangerously close, is California cheats our elections every year. They cheat Congress every year. They have extra seats because they allow illegal immigrants to come in. I think we need several other states, red states, to sue to the Supreme Court challenging what California is doing, because by barring federal law enforcement and immigration, they are bolstering their representation, which is subverting the will of the other states in the union. If that don't happen, and no one takes care of this, and California continues to defy the rule of law, then what? We're going to have all these Democrat states have already come out and said they'll defy Trump.
Yeah.
You've got, what is it, like 20 some odd?
Yeah,
See what happens.
there's a bunch of them. Massachusetts, New Jersey, New
Yep.
York, a bunch of them. Minnesota.
All right, let's go. We got Alpha 2 Omega says, howdy, people. Tim, now I wish illegals just stuck with DoorDash instead of politics. Arrest and deport them all. We can no longer care about how Democrats feel. They destroy everything they touch.